Den Heng Imbibitor Lunae has been making waves ever since his first day in Honkai Star Rail. I didn't really mean to make that pun, but let's just roll with it. He is uncontested the current best damage dealer in the game. He excels in single target, he excels in pseudo AoE, and he excels in AoE situations, making him the best of all worlds. He is a character of the imaginary element. Being the first true damage dealer of that element means he has an advantage over other characters in other paths. There's one thing we have to talk about before we get into the video. He is a character that is not for everyone. He is a character that you have to actually play the game. As crazy I'm saying that. You have to actually know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to miss out on his damage potential, which then his damage potential is much lower than a character like Seal. But if you're able to play this character correctly, then you'll have the best damage dealer you can have on your account possible. Unlike other characters in the destruction path, he has access to many ways of increasing his own elemental damage, his own crit rate through his traces, and he gets many of them, which makes him much better than other characters in the destruction path. He has an enhanced basic attack, which actually increases his own crit damage furthermore, but it consumes skill points, meaning you have to play the game differently than you would have played with other characters. And the reason being is because you want to always get as many skill points as you can for your enhanced basic attack, because you want to pretty much one-shot the enemy whenever you use Den Heng. However, the skill point drain of Den Heng is made up through his ultimate, which gives him stacks for his enhanced basic attack. He's also able to increase his own damage further, that stacks with his enhanced basic attack stacks. And then he has a further crit damage increase against enemies that are weak to imaginary, which if you have a character like Silverwolf, one of the best offensive supporters that Den Heng and Imbibitor Lunae can actually use, means that he's going to become a lot better of a character because he is able to utilize one of the best offensive debuffers in the game. In order to be a better damage dealer than the current best damage dealer in the game, you have to offer something differently than that current best damage dealer. And Seal is a character that is very hard to power creep in situations because A, she works really well in single target and pseudo AoE situations, and B, she is a part of a rare element, which is the quantum element. And C, she also has ways of increasing her own damage. But the thing is, unlike Den Heng, this character is played differently because Seal actually increases her own speed, whereas a character like Den Heng does not increase his own speed. So the way you play him is different from the way you play Seal, although you would play them both in hypercarry team compositions. So for Den Heng and Imbibitor Lunae to become the best damage dealer in the game, you have to utilize the best offensive supporters in the game. And a character like Ting Yun is one of the best characters in the game for that role. She's a character that is able to give energy to your ally, which, as we said earlier in the video, Den Heng and Imbibitor Lunae gets stacks for his enhanced basic attack from having his ultimate. Then a character like Ting Yun is able to funnel energy to that ultimate, making her the best character to use alongside Den Heng, while also increasing the attack and the elemental damage boost of a character, makes her a very nice offensive support to use in the hypercarry team comps. And if you're using offensive supporters, you have to use the best offensive buffing support in the game, and that is Bronya. And Den Heng actually uses Bronya really well. The truth is that Bronya is going to be built much more faster than a character like Den Heng, and Den Heng Imbibitor Lunae is going to be built with no speed. So what you have is a character like Bronya taking more turns than Den Heng, which makes her a lot more skill point efficient in the team comps with Den Heng, who wants to take all of the skill points for himself. Not only do you give the character many elemental damage boosts with the elemental skill from Bronya, but you also give a crit damage and an attack increase to Den Heng as well, which makes her a very strong offensive support in the hypercarry team comps with Den Heng. He is the first character to actually utilize Yukong very well, and the truth is that is thanks to all the imaginary damage boosts he gets, on top of the fact that he actually wants the crit rate Yukong provides. Because of all of the crit damage amplifications he has in this kit, and all of the crit damage Yukong provides, you want to utilize high crit rates so you can maximize your damage. And Yukong is a character that provides those buffs alongside the imaginary damage boost buff she gives to Den Heng Imbibitor Lunae, alongside the attack boost as well, making her very, very nice to have in the hypercarry team comp. The only catch is that you actually need Planetary Rendezvous, and having Eidolons for this light cone is very, very valuable, because that means that you'll have an even further damage increase for Den Heng, which matters because the element of the wearer is what's going to be boosted for the team comp. When it comes to offensive supporting debuffers in Honkai Star Rail, Den Heng can utilize a character like Pela really well. And actually, I'll go as far as to say Pela is one of the best supports for him because she provides the AoE defense shred and the skill point efficiency that matters for a support in the hypercarried teams with Den Heng. That's all you could ask for from a 4-star character. Silverwolf, the best offensive support debuffer in the game, is a character that Den Heng and Imbibitor Lunae actually uses really well as well. I would go as far as to say Silverwolf is better in a lot of situations that you would actually want to use Den Heng in anyways. In single target settings, Silverwolf is going to be your best friend. She puts the imaginary weakness on the enemy, which will in turn reduce the resistances of that enemy, while also being able to shred the defense of that enemy. On top of that, that is going to play into the part of Den Heng Imbibitor Lunae's kit, to where he wants to have the enemy with imaginary weaknesses so that he can proc his set, the Wastelander set, to get the 4-piece effect into effect all the time. And on top of that, to where he wants to have the weakness break effect on the enemy to increase his overall damage. So a recurring theme is that all of the skill point positive or efficient characters that are able to buff Den Heng is what you would want to use in the composition with him. You can even use Bronya even if she's a character that is a little less skill point efficient, just because the speed of Den Heng will be really slow compared to Bronya, so where you can take more turns and drain less skill points. And if you have Eidolon 1 for Bronya, which helps out with the skill point efficiency in the team composition. And if you have the 5-star light cone, but the battle isn't over for Bronya or any Harmony character in the team comp, you're going to have much more skill points to work with, which means you have a lot more flexibility in who you want to use in your hypercarry team comps with Den Heng anyways. And when it comes to supporters, Den Heng really doesn't care who he uses. I would go as far as say a Jeppard is actually a really good character for Den Heng, because Jeppard will be fast enough to where he'll take more turns, generating more skill points, and on top of that, having shields that last long on the character, because as you all know, Seal increases her own speed, which means there will be times where your Seal's shield from Jeppard will actually go away, whereas the shield for Den Heng and Imbibitor Lunae will stay on the character because he is built a lot more slower. And Natasha is a character that you can use if you don't have any other option. Just like me, I use her all the time. She may not be the most skill point efficient character, but she is still a healer nonetheless, and that's one you get for free. And Luocha is going to be the best bang for your buck alongside Jeppard as being a skill point efficient healer. And he is a part of the imaginary element, which means he'll have more damage on the toughness bar of the enemies that are weak to imaginary. So he is a lot better in team comps with Den Heng and Yukong, for instance, than other characters of other paths of other elements. And how could I forget the little gremlin? This character works really well with Den Heng as well, because she is also a very nice skill point positive healer. She's also a healer that has a lot of built-in damage mitigation, so she makes it to where in situations you can stop yourself from getting one shot, whereas a character like Luocha, you could still get one shot. That's pretty much the only downside to using Luocha, but overall he is the best healer in the game. And when it comes to relic sets, Den Heng has access to one of the best sets in the game. He is able to utilize this set really well because he is a part of the imaginary element, meaning he's going to be fighting enemies that want to be imprisoned anyways, and he is going to be hitting toughness bars left and right. So he'll have a lot more of the 4-piece taken into effect with him just existing as a character. And funny enough, this is the one time I could say you could utilize Welt really well with other DPS characters. And that is because Welt actually imprisons the enemies himself, which means you'll have 100% uptime on the 4-piece effect with Welt in the same party. And then Welt actually increases the damage the targets receive, so it's pretty much the light cone of Silverwolf or 5-star best in slot light cone, the 12-piece damage boost that you get from debuffing enemies. Well, that is what Welt does on his ultimate in an AoE situation. So there you have it. That is how Den Heng himself became the best DPS character in the game, but at a cost, of course. The cost of your sanity, because you're going to have to be clicking your mouse constantly, or you may just have to tap your phone constantly, depending on what platform you play Honkai Star Rail on. But he is also a character that isn't for everyone, as I said before. He is a character that rewards you for skill and patience. That's both things I personally don't have, so he's a character that probably wouldn't suit me. whereas Seal suits my more so brain dead playstyle. That's why I'm going for Mono Quantum in the first place, because I want to play the game with auto and not have to worry about anything. That's just me personally. Anyways, I hope your pulls with Denhang and Imbibitor Lunae went well, and if you got the character early, let me know. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.